Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedānta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Koriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Shard Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Surup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vaja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedānta Svāmī Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Nama Om Vishnu, Avanchakalpatarubhyashcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshvashta Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, dear devotees. Let's see who is there. Hare Krishna, Nanda Nandan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, Champak Mataji, and whoever that is watching on their iPhone. It says iPhone CW. Maybe he's at Chatamai Mataji. I don't know who that is, but anyways, pranams to whoever that is. And on YouTube and Facebook, I see Ganga Mataji and Pramila Didi. I saw the lecture title and had to jump in. What's the lecture title? Is Human Misery a Pastime of God? Oh man. Okay. I hope things are not too rough for you right now. But all right. So we are. I'm starting a bit late today, but we don't have a long reading, so I think actually we'll be ending early today, because we've been the past, I don't know how many days we've been doing this for, but for the past few days we've been reading all the Rays of the Harmonist articles that were written by Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupāda, and we are on the last two, and they happen to be very short. So, yeah. Oh, and pranams to all the devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Vallabha Didi, Ananda Pradayani Didi, Vrinda Didi, Anuradha Mataji, and everybody else. Dandavat pranams. All right, so let's begin. What am I looking? Okay, here it is. Is human misery a pastime of God? This is Rays of the Harmonist, issue number 21, Gaura-punima 2010. All right. One second. Okay. Oh wait, did we read this already? We did read this. This is the same article. It's an excerpt from Sri Krishna Lila and Mundane Sense Gratification, which we read yesterday. Well, I'm just going to read it again because, I'm just going to read it again, whatever. It's only one page, so. Okay. Is God responsible for all the varieties of misery that man must face, or not? When a Svāmī, who is a regular visitor to Delhi, was asked this question by the good Dr. Sharma, he presented his answer in front of everyone in the assembly. He said, "The miseries visible in human life, whatever they may be, are all a pastime of the Lord." Dr. Sharma lives and practices medicine in Delhi. He is a keen seeker of truth and an avid reader of our Back to Godhead magazine, and he often inquires for me on a variety of topics. The good doctor found the Swami's answer to his question completely unsatisfying. He countered by saying that if all a person's activities are to be considered a pastime of the Lord, then why is it said that man must experience the results of his own pious and sinful activities? When the Swami attempted to justify his explanation simply by repeating the same phrase, "It is all a pastime of the Lord," then Dr. Sharma exclaimed in the midst of that assembly, "I am not satisfied with your answer." The common people in the audience were simply listening to their arguments. No one could understand the essence of the topic, nor did anyone even try to understand it. On many occasions, we too come across this question, which is ever stirring in the human mind. Why did God create so much misery in this world? Is it all his pastime? The truth, though, is quite different from what this question implies. Among all the meaningless obstacles that monists have created in this world by conceiving God and the living entity as existing in total oneness, none is more severe than the introduction of this particular type of doubt. The activities of souls that are imprisoned by the material energy are mundane. But these impersonalists, on account of their claim that God and the living being exist in total oneness, are obliged to attribute such mundane activities to the pastimes of God. Without doing so, they would not be able to reconcile their statements like, "God is in distress," or "God is begging alms." Therefore, it is not possible to support the doctrine of impersonalism, a doctrine which completely destroys one's spiritual life. It's not possible to support this doctrine of impersonalism without concocting the alleged divine theologies that are conveyed by statements such as Narayan has become impoverished to enact the pastime of begging, or Narayan has become a pig to enact the pastime of feeding on stool. And this one, which I think is hilarious, the Supreme Spirit in the form of deliciously prepared chicken eggs is reposed within the belly of that same Supreme Spirit in the form of a holy mendicant. And the like. It is for this reason that Sriman Mahaprabhu clearly stated, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoy Sarvanash. Hearing the commentary of a Mayavadi completely destroys one's spiritual life. As long as this form of artificial spiritualism, known as impersonalism, is not expelled from this world, the common man shall not be able to comprehend Shri Krishna's identity, nor his name, qualities, and so forth. Foolish people readily accept such malformed theologies simply because they are sold out to their sect, but they are unable to comprehend the real implication of their conception. What else could be the fate of a common man who keeps the harmful association, the asat sangha of the impersonalists, but to be misled and converted to atheism, only to engage in mere sense gratification? That was from Gaudiya Patrika, Year 9, Issue 11, 1958. It's an excerpt of the article that we read yesterday, Shri Krishna Lila and Mundane Sense Gratification. Okay, so that was that article, and now today's article is, let's see who joined. Haribol Vidilala Sadidi. Okay, I have it here. I thought I had it there. Anyhow, just give me a second. I just need to find it. Resources, PDF, Raise the Harmonist, Kārtika 2010. So now we're going to read about the Godhood of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This is another article by Srila Prabhupāda, and this is published in the Kārtika 2010 issue of Raise the Harmonist. It is Śrī Caitanya-deva Bhagavata, the ultimate Godhood of Śrī Caitanya-deva. Let's see, I'm just curious how long this article is. Okay, yeah, not too long. That's Radha Vinod Bihari, my all-time favorite Thakurji in the world, in Keshapji Gaudiya in Mathura. And Srila Prabhupada donated this Mahaprabhu. He gave this Mahaprabhu to Param Gurudev. So beautiful, huh? Okay. So this article begins now with this Srimad Bhagavatam verse. I made translations for these two verses. I'm curious how different they are from mine, though. Let's see. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 5, verse 33. Deyam sada paribhavagnamabhishta doham tirtaspadam shiva virincinutang sharanyam Bhrityartihang pranatapala bhavabdipotang Vande Mahapurushute Charanaravindam. Just want to see what issue of, okay, this is year 5, issue 7, 1954. Srila Prabhupada wrote this. Okay, so the translation of this verse. I offer my obeisances at the divine lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya-deva millions and millions of times. He is the source of all other avatars. He is the deliverer of the fallen. He is supremely munificent, and he is the sole maintainer of surrendered souls. Mahaprabhu Śrī Caitanya-deva appeared among us, bringing his own abode and all his associates. His purpose was to deliver living entities like us, who are afflicted by the misfortunes of Kali Yuga, by bestowing pure Krishna bhakti upon us. That pure bhakti is in the form of constant eagerness to act kindly towards Shri Krishna, Anukul Krishna Anushilan, without any ulterior motives, Anyabhilash. It is neither eclipsed by the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, Gyan, or by reward-seeking activities, Karma. Okay. I hope you don't mind, but I want to compare it to the translation that I made for the songbook. Because I took this translation from Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's Bengali Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's kind of similar to this. So here's Anharibol Sarveshwari Mataji. Haribol. How does it begin? Dhyayam. Okay. It's on page 204. There it is. Let's read my translation. It says, O you who nourish your surrendered servants, O Purushottam Mahaprabhu, your lotus feet are the most worthy object of constant meditation, for they subdue all paths contrary to exclusive bhakti, such as Anyabhilash, Karma, Gyan, and Yoga, and bestow Krishna Prem. They are the shelter of all tirthas, such as Gaura-mandal, Kshetra-mandal, and Vraja-mandal. Alternatively, they are the shelter of the Sri Rupa Nuga Mahabhagavats, who have taken shelter of oral reception in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya Acharya, Srimad Ananda Tirtha, that's Madhvacharya. You are praised by and so the word Tirtha in this verse, Tirthaspadam, you're the shelter of the Tirtha, so it can mean the Tirthas of Gaura-mandal, Kshetra-mandal, or Vraj-mandal, or it can mean the Tirtha, Ananda Tirtha, everybody in the line of Ananda Tirtha, which is Madhvacharya, which is our Guru Parampara, our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So you are praised by the Shiva avatar Shri Advaita Prabhu and Brahma avatar Shri Namacharya Haridas Prabhu. You are the worthy refuge of your sheltered servants, and you remove the distress of your servant Vasudev, the Brahman leper. Your lotus feet are the boat that carried Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and King Prataparudra across the worldly ocean of desire for liberation and desire for enjoyment. I offer obeisances to your lotus feet. Okay, now we'll go through the next verse. Srila Prabhupada says that Śrī Caitanya-deva is the sole protector of the most prominent sampradaya among the four Vaishnava sampradayas, which had been preserved by Sri Ananda Tirtha, Sri Madhvacharya, the Acharya of the Brahma Sampradaya. Śrī Caitanya-deva is eternally worshipped by Srila Haridas Thakur, the incarnation of the original poet Lord Brahma, and by Srila Advaita Acharya, the incarnation of Sri Sadashiv. Sri Krishna Caitanya-deva is the deliverer of the fallen souls, is the exclusive shelter, the ashray of all living beings. He cured Kushti Vipra, his Brahman servant, of the painful affliction of leprosy, and as though he were a sturdy ship to carry them across the ocean of material existence, he was the only deliverance for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was drowning in the desire for liberation, and for King Prataparudra and others who are drowning in worldly enjoyments. Okay, so they made there's a mistake here. This is all meant to be part of the translation for this verse, but they made it separate from the translation. So that is that. Anyways, yeah, that was a mistake. And now, and same thing with this one. This is all supposed to be the translation of the verse. Anyhow, doesn't matter. Okay, so now here's the next verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 5, verse 34, and Haribol Nri Hariprabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji. Okay. Tyaktva sudustya jasurep sitaraja lakshming dharmishta arya vachasa yadagararanyam maya mrigam dayitayep sitam anvadhavar vande mahapurushute charanaravindam. Yes, this is the next verse in the 11th canto. Okay. With a certain purpose in mind, Śrī Caitanya-deva seemingly accepted sannyas. Yet internally, he nourished a secret mood. He wished to relish Krishna's sweetness in the same way that Srimati Radharani had. He therefore remained constantly tormented by separation from Sri Krishna, and thus taught the living beings the secrets of Krishna Prem. I offer my obeisances at his divine lotus feet millions of times. His two eternal, this is also supposed to be part of the translation. His two eternal consorts, Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi and Srimati Lakshmi Priya Devi, are even worshipped by the demigods. Yet Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva gave up their association and adopted the severe vow of sannyas just to bestow Krishna Prem upon all living beings, which is extremely rare even for Lord Brahma. The Vedas, Puranas, and other scriptures foretold that Sri Bhagavan would personally accept sannyas and deliver all souls. Honoring that ancient prophecy, Sri Gaura-Narayan became a sannyasi, delivered all the living beings suffering under the reign of Kali. Okay, so Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, in his Srimad Bhagavatam, he translates it like this. Let me just, one second, let me just remove this thing. View. Okay, there. O Mahaprabhu, outwardly, on the pretext of accepting sannyas, you, as Jagat Guru, enacted the role of an acharya, propagating the path of Vaidhi Bhakti. And inwardly, you were overwhelmed by the mood of separation from Krishna that was felt by Sri Radha, the crest jewel of all virtuous persons imbued with rag, intimate loving attachment. You abandoned Vishnu Priya Devi, the form of Lakshmi, who is sought after by the gods and who is more difficult to give up than life itself. Or you abandoned everything, including liberation and that devotion which is mixed with knowledge and opulence. Subsequently, you accepted the fourth ashram, sannyas, under the pretense of adhering to the words of the Brahman's curse. And there's a footnote. Once a Brahmin insisted on being allowed entrance into Mahaprabhu's nocturnal kirtan, in which he and his associates relished Ras Leela. When Mahaprabhu refused, the Brahmin cursed him to be deprived of family life, a curse Mahaprabhu gladly accepted. So, yeah, you accept the fourth ashram under the you accepted sannyas under the pretense of adhering to the words of a Brahman's curse. Thus endowed with causeless and utmost auspicious compassion, ahaituki amando doya doya. With that utmost auspicious compassion for persons absorbed in objects of enjoyment unrelated to Krishna, and who sought Maya in the form, and being so merciful to those who sought Maya in the form of wealth, women, and prestige, or in the form of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, you searched everywhere for the cherished Lord of your heart, Gopi Jana Vallabha. Just notice a double space. Anyways, doesn't matter. I just sent all the corrections yesterday. Let me just mark this so I don't forget about it later. Okay, and then, or, this is an alternative translation for this section. Having become absorbed in the mood of the gopis in separation, you searched for that Sri Radha Raman, who searches for Hladini Shakti Swarupini Srimati Radhika, that Sri Radhika who, engaged in Chitra Jalpa and overwhelmed by Udgurna in the company of Vishaka, had longed to attain him. I offer my obeisances to your feet. Isn't that so amazing, though? You searched everywhere for that cherished Lord of your heart. Or, becoming absorbed in the mood of the gopis, you searched for Radharaman, who searches for Hladini Shakti Swarupini Shri Radhika. You're searching for that Radharaman who searches for Radhika. So like in the mood of Srimati Radhika, you're searching for that Radharaman, but Radharaman is searching for that Srimati Radhika. So they're both searching for each other. And Chitra Jalpa and Udgurna, I made a footnote here. It says, these are two symptoms of Divyonmad, divine madness, which manifests in the stage of Mohan Mahapav. Udgurna refers to a state in which many varieties of astounding and uncontrollable endeavors are manifest. Chitrajalpa refers to 10 specific divisions of discourse. 10 specific divisions of discourse directed towards a friend or messenger of the beloved, arising from intense longing. Okay. I'm sorry, I got distracted by a WhatsApp message. Okay, so that is Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's translation of that verse. And a crazy thing in this verse, which is how many lines? It's like 5, I don't know, it's like 20 lines or something like that. I think so, like 20 lines in the translation. This is all one sentence in the Bengali. I had to divide this one sentence into like, I don't know, 8 sentences or something, 9 sentences. Yeah, okay. It's like one of the most difficult things I ever translated. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's continue on. So these 2 verses that we just read are eternally preserved in Srimad Bhagavatam, the greatest of all Puranas, as the pranam mantra of Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva, the original form of Godhead, Avatari, from whom all other avatars emanate. The conversation between King Nimi and the Navayogendras has been reflected upon in the first 5 chapters of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therein, the Navayogendras explain in detail which forms of Godhead appear in each yuga. Srila Karabhajan Rishi, who is prominent among the Navayogendras, has analytically described which incarnations of Bhagavan will appear in each yuga, and by which symptoms they would be known. In his description, he has also described the symptoms by which Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva's avitaritva, his quality of being the source of all other avatars, would be known. After describing the symptoms of different incarnations of Bhagavan in Satya, Treta, and Dvapar yugas, he has depicted the characteristic features of the incarnation of Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva in the following manner. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. So that's in that same chapter 5 of the 11th canto, verse 32. In this Kali Yuga, Bhagavan Śrī Krishna himself, accepting a golden or yellowish complexion, will appear along with his own expansions, Sa-anga, his attendant servants, Upanga, and his powerful armaments, his astra in the form of the holy name, and his dear companions, his parshads. Although this avatari, Shri Gaurasundar, adorned with the mood and complexion of Shri Radha, is Krishna inside, outside he is Gaur. Therefore, those with great intelligence will make their lives successful by worshipping him through Sankirtan Yagya. Okay. Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva is the preacher of Bhagavat Dharma and the original propagator and instructing spiritual master, the Shiksha Guru, of the performance of Sankirtan Yagya. He's accepted Srimad Bhagavatam as the natural commentary on Vedanta Darshan, or Brahma Sutra, which contains the sutra Janmad Asya. And the invocation verse of Srimad Bhagavatam also begins Janmad Asya. So Brahma Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam begins in the same way. In this very Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimately original Godhood, the avataritva of Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva, has been acknowledged. In fact, his avataritva has not only been confirmed there, but in other scriptures as well. It's not only been confirmed there, but in other scriptures as well, including the Upanishads, the Puranas, and the Mahabharata. Hence, Śrī Krishna Caitanya-deva is not the imaginary Bhagavan born in the minds of whimsical men and subsequently fostered by the opinions of fools. Rather, he is Swayam Bhagavan, identical to Śrī Krishna, as affirmed and proclaimed in the perfect conclusions of Shastra. He is known, therefore, by the name Śrī Krishna Caitanya. Śrī Vasudeva Sarvabhauma also knew the absolute truth regarding Śrī Krishna Caitanya, that he was Śrī Krishna himself. Hence, he glorified him in the following 2 verses, which are especially celebrated as the necklace worn by all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameka Purusha Purana Śrī Krishna Caitanya Sharira Dhari Kripam Buddhiryastamaham Prapadye Kalam Nashtim Bhakti Yogam Nijamya Pradushkartum Krishna Caitanya Nama Avirbhutas Tasya Padaravinde Ghadam Ghadam Liyatang Chitta Bringa. Says, those were verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak. And here is a translation of these 2 verses. With the purpose of imparting to all souls detachment from mundanity, that is, anything that does not nurture Krishna Bhakti, and to bestow upon them transcendental knowledge and Bhakti Yoga to himself, the Supreme Primeval Lord took the form of Śrī Krishna Caitanya. I offer myself to that endless ocean of transcendent compassion. To revive the culture of performing Bhakti Yoga to himself, which had been destroyed in the course of time. That is to say, it had been destroyed due to the increasing prominence of ulterior motives, greed for the fruits of labor, the pursuit of impersonal knowledge, and material attachment. So to revive that culture of performing Bhakti Yoga, that primeval Lord appeared, bearing the name Śrī Krishna Caitanya. May my mind, like a honeybee, merge very, very deeply in the nectar of his lotus-like feet. In the 2nd chapter of the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the symptoms of the present age, the age of Kali, have been described in detail. In the age of Kali, the following activities and symptoms will be visible to us. And here's a quote from the 12th canto. In Kali Yuga, wealth alone will be the basic foundation of all activities and the sole measure of a man's social status. The freedom of men, all verdicts, equality of rights, and so on, will be settled by wealth alone. Physical beauty will be the sole cause of attraction between man and woman, and thus the sole impetus to enter into family life. And in practical day-to-day life, a man's success in his undertakings will be proportionate to the degree to which he employs deceit and sly dealings. Males will gain supremacy over females in accordance with their sexual prowess, and females will also use sexuality to gain control over males. Gradually, the Varnashram system will disintegrate, thrown into chaos by men from higher castes who claim to have spiritual authority simply because they wear a thread. If a man shall be unable to bear the expenses connected with court proceedings, he will not receive a fair verdict from the judicial system of the state. But a man who shall maneuver to establish himself by force or fraudulence will be revealed by the people. The impoverished will be deemed unrighteous by the rest of society, while traits like deceit and egoism will be the mark of righteousness. Marriage and divorce will take place whimsically, simply by signing a contract. And simply by taking bath, people will consider themselves fully decorated. Any river will be regarded as a holy place if it is somewhat far away, and just by growing long hairs on their scalps, people will believe that they have become beautiful and lustrous. People will try to ascertain the truth through utterly unholy or demoniac practices, completely ignoring scripture. The expertise of householders will be judged simply by their ability to support their families, and they will earn distinction in society just by being able to maintain their wives and children. When the organization of society is turned upside down by all of this, men will take command of nations simply by winning support by popular vote, whether they are actually qualified or not, and irrespective of their natural varna. Thus, unqualified leaders of a state will unfailingly be greedy for wealth, selfish, cruel, envious, and self-conceited. They will therefore plunder the wealth and assets of their powerless subjects and make themselves the sole power. Constantly disturbed and tormented by such leaders of state, the powerless subjects will flee from one state to another and be known as homeless refugees. Inflicted by famine, disease, depression, and the unbearable burden of government taxation, these refugees will become helpless, and they will be forced to eat varieties of grass, roots, seeds, and the like that are unfit for human ingestion. And when constant cycles of excessive rainfall and severe drought cause the soil's capacity to bear crops to dwindle, food grains will gradually disappear from the face of the earth one by one. Yikes. The people afflicted by the age of Kali will suffer from all kinds of anxiety due to conflicts between cults, as well as from hunger and thirst, disease, depression, and inadequate clothing and shelter to protect them from the excessive cold, heat, and rain. The average height of a man will continuously decrease. The 4 social divisions and the 4 phases of human life will no longer be determined by one's actions and nature, but rather divisions in society will be imposed on people by the ambitions of wicked men, and the conduct of the people in general will eventually become the antithesis of what is described in the Vedas. People will be attracted by such conduct. They will accept unfair and unholy means to attain high positions. Once they have secured their positions, they will be busy themselves in robbing the masses. Therefore, the only varna that will remain in Kali Yuga will be Shudra. The cow will become like the she-goat. Discrepancies will be observed in the attire and conduct of those who accepted the renounced order. Householders will accept the occupation of begging by donning the robes of a renunciate, and will thus be totally degraded from their prescribed duties. Relationships will only last as long as their sexual ties upon which they are based. Medicinal trees and plants will lose their medicinal properties, and trees will no longer grow very tall. The clouds will be full of lightning, but no rain will fall from them. At that time, Bhagavan Kalki-dev will appear like a blazing comet descending to lay waste to the legions of demoniac men. So that was from the 12th canto. Now, Srila Prabhupada continues. Even now, at the very dawn of the age of Kali, with 427,000 years remaining out of 432, all of these symptoms are already visible and even prominent. It is obvious, therefore, that the difficulties faced by the common people will continue to increase. Eventually, when the state of humanity deteriorates so far that even bare necessities like sufficient food and sleep are unobtainable, people will become like ghosts. When all forms of higher education, both spiritual and secular, are completely inaccessible, human beings who are already predisposed towards sense enjoyment will become increasingly enthralled and debased, enthralled by debased sexuality and both subtle and gross, until at last they are engrossed in it to the exclusion of all else. Even now, pornography is already rampant and pervasive in the form of erotic dramas and novels, magazines, and cinema. This is all testimony to the predictions from Srimad Bhagavatam just mentioned. Srila Prabhupada is writing this in 1958, which, erotic dramas and novels and magazines, it's really a lot worse than it was back then. Thus degraded, men will abandon service to Vaishnavas, to their parents, and to their superiors. And they will even abandon their responsibility of maintaining their wives and children, whom they are truly meant to protect. Blinded by their degrading selfish interests, they will totally reject their eternal relationships with Sri Bhagavan, who is even worshipped by Shiva and Brahma, and they will become hostile to Sri Guru and adopt Prakrit Sahajyaism, the practice of illegitimately superimposing mundane conceptions on transcendental subjects. In the end, after describing the symptoms of Kali Yuga in great detail, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, the foremost of Mahabhagavats, who is a perfected yogi from birth, gave us a ray of hope. These two verses from the 12th canto, verse chapter 3. Kaler dosha nide rajan asti hyeko mahan guna kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha parang vrajet kriteya dhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makai dvapare paricharyayam kalotadhari kirtanat. So the translation of these two verses is, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, but this age has one exalted quality. Simply by performing Shri Krishna Nam Kirtan, people can become liberated from material bondage and attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga through meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga through performing Vedic sacrifices for him, and in Dwapar Yuga through worshipping his deity, can all be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by performing Shri Harinam Sankirtan. Since the results of all forms of worship in all the ages are available in Kali Yuga simply by performing Nam Kirtan of Lord Shri Hari, the Aryans, that is, the most esteemed class of men who have appraised the merits of all the ages, have verily eulogized this age. The dharma of Shri Krishna Sankirtan is the only resort for those born in Kali Yuga, and the founder of the Sankirtan movement is Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna Chaitanya. It is mentioned in Shruti that he who is beautifully radiant with the luster of molten gold is Shri Gaura-sundar. This is evidence from the Mundaka Upanishad 3.3. So the Upanishads even say this. Yada pasya pashyate rukmavarnam kartaram isham purusham brahmayonim tada vidvan punya pape vidhuya niranjana paramam samyam upaiti. So that means, when the living entity sees that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he whose complexion is beautiful like brilliant gold, and he who is the super soul of all and the Supreme Mover, has manifested this universe, and that he is the source of the God of creation, Lord Brahma, then that wise living entity attains transcendental knowledge and becomes free from both pious and sinful karmic reactions. Thus freed from his connection with the material energy and the body comprised of that energy, he attains supreme qualitative equality with the Lord by attaining a spiritual form like his. Besides Srimad Bhagavatam, which reveals the import of Mahabharata, it is mentioned in the Dan Parva of Mahabharata itself. So Mahabharata says, Suvarna Varna Hemango Varanga Chandanangari Sanyasa Krishchama Chanto Nishta Shanti Parayana. So the meaning of that from Mahabharata says, Shri Gaura-sundar has a complexion of molten gold, and his body is supremely beautiful. In his pastimes as a householder, he wore an exquisite garland and smeared the pulp of sandalwood on all his limbs. In those pastimes he preached Krishna Kirtan in Nadia Dham. In his later pastimes, when he accepted the renounced order, his disposition was peaceful and equipoised. Then also, as an acharya, with steadfast determination in the supreme sacrifice, the Mahayagya known as Shri Harinam Sankirtan, and with complete devotion to Mahabhav, that's the highest mood of Srimati Radhika, he preached the message of Veda. And that message is Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. It's from the Brihan Naradiya Puran, quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 17. In Kali Yuga, the only path to salvation is Harinam, Harinam, Harinam. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is absolutely no other way. Considering all of this, it is clear that, as mentioned in the scriptures, Shri Krishna Chaitanya is a supreme absolute truth, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna. In fact, this alone is the final truth, accepted and affirmed by all authorities. So this is translated from Śrī Gaura-punima, Year 5, Issue 7, 1954. And that concludes our reading of the articles by Srila Prabhupada that appear in Rays of the Harmonists. There's also the Vaishishthashtakam and also the Virahashtakam. So 2 poetical works. But other than that, I think we've read everything now. So, all right, that's our program. I'll just do short Mahamantra and Jadvani, and we'll end for today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Jai Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Shri Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Sapasha Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai, Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jai Srila Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Prabhupāda Ki Jai, and all of his transcendental writings Ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyaya Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Satyavatai Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Sarveshwari Mataji, Champak Mataji, Nanda Nandan Prabhu, and on YouTube and Facebook, Ganga Mataji, Pramila Didi, Vidyalalasa Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Indira Mataji, and all the devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Vallabha, Ananda Pradayani, Vrinda Didi, and Anuradha Mataji. Dandavat Pranams, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all tomorrow to read about, let's see what's happening in the calendar. Tomorrow is the appearance day of Lochan Das Thakur, so we can read about him, and we'll see what else. I don't know. All right, thank you so much for joining. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end the stream for today? All right, Dandavat Pranams. See you tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe Hari Bol.